What happens when the galaxy's most feared dragon meets a human child with nothing but compassion? The deadliest legend awakens, and only a child stands in its way. Will kindness conquer terror? Not even the emotionless Xylar could believe a child's kiss could rewrite the fate of stars.
In the vast, silent theater of space, there are places whispered about in hushed tones across 1,000 star systems. These are forbidden worlds, marked on galactic charts with warnings of death and despair. The most feared among them is a planet shrouded in eternal storms, a place known only as Drakonis. For centuries, no ship has dared to enter its violent atmosphere, and no soul has returned to tell the tale. It is a planet imprisoned by its own legend. Patrolling the edge of this cosmic quarantine zone is the Xylar fleet. Their ships, marvels of cold, logical design, glide through the void like silver blades. The Xylar are an ancient race, known for their rigid discipline and emotionless approach to the universe. Their mission here is simple: to watch, to listen, and to ensure that the monster of Drakonis never, ever escapes. They are the guardians of a secret, the jailers of a nightmare known as the Void Worm, a dragon so powerful it was said to have devoured stars and wiped out entire civilizations in the ancient past. Aboard the flagship, the Vigilance, Commander Xylar stares at the swirling chaos of Drakonis on the main view screen. His 4 silver eyes, sharp and analytical, betray no emotion. For him, this is just another rotation, another cycle of endless watching. Protocol is his religion, and logic is his god. Suddenly, a calm synthetic voice echoes through the bridge. Alert, unidentified vessel detected. It has breached the quarantine perimeter. The crew freezes. This is impossible. Every ship in the galaxy knows to stay away. Xylar's eyes narrow. On screen, he commands, his voice sharp and clear. The image shifts, zooming past the storm clouds. There, half buried in the black volcanic sand of Drakonis, is the wreckage of a small shuttle. It is not a warship. It looks like a simple transport, torn apart by the planet's brutal gravity. Life signs? Xylar asks, a strange tension filling the air. The officer at the sensor station hesitates. Only one life sign detected, Commander. It is weak. Xylar feels a flicker of something unfamiliar. Curiosity? No, that is an illogical emotion. Identify the species. There is a longer pause this time. The officer turns, his own 4 eyes wide with disbelief. Commander, the life form is human. A wave of murmurs spreads across the bridge. Humans, a young, chaotic, and dangerously unpredictable species that had only recently joined the galactic community. The Xylar considered them primitive, driven by illogical things like hope and love. It gets worse, Commander, the sensor officer adds, his voice barely a whisper. The biological signs, they are consistent with that of a juvenile, a child. The bridge falls into a stunned silence. A human child, alone on the most dangerous planet in the known universe. This was not just a breach of protocol, it was a tragedy waiting to happen. The Xylar Council convenes in an emergency session via hologram. The debate is short and logical. A rescue mission is too risky. Sending a team to the surface could attract the Void Worm's attention. The potential loss of a highly trained Xylar crew for one illogical, primitive child is an unacceptable risk. The decision is unanimous. They will observe, but they will not interfere. Xylar closes the communication channel, but a conflict rages within him. The Council's logic is sound, flawless even. But the image of a lost child, alone in the darkness, stirs a protective instinct he never knew he had. Down on the planet's surface, the universe is a terrifying place for 7-year-old Ilara. She was playing with her toys in her family's small transport ship just a few hours ago. Her parents, both brilliant xenobotanists, were telling her stories of the glowing flowers they would find on a new world. Then came a violent shake, alarms and darkness. Now she is alone. The wind howls outside the broken ship like a hungry beast. She is scared, but she is also a survivor. She remembers her father's words. "Fear is just a shadow, Ilara. You are the light that makes it run away." Driven by annoying hunger, she wraps herself in a warm blanket and steps out of the wreckage. The landscape of Drakonis is a nightmare of jagged black rocks and rivers of glowing lava in the distance. But Ilara hears something else beneath the wind. It is a low, humming sound, like a sad song. It pulls her forward, a strange melody in the middle of chaos. She walks for what feels like hours, following the sound into a deep, vast valley. The valley opens up into a cavern so immense that the crashed shuttle would be a mere speck of dust inside. Strange glowing crystals pulse with a soft light on the ceiling, illuminating a scene of ancient power. Massive bones of creatures larger than starships litter the floor. Ominous claw marks, each the size of a shuttle, are carved deep into the stone walls. Aboard the Vigilance, the Xylar watch on their screens, their logical minds struggling to process the scene. Proximity alerts on their sensors are screaming. Something immense, something impossibly large, is in that cavern with the child. Ilara stops in the center of the cavern, the sad humming now all around her. She looks ahead into the deep darkness. The humming stops. A deep silence falls. Then, with a sound like shifting mountains, 2 points of molten gold ignite in the darkness. They are eyes. Eyes filled with ancient sorrow and endless loneliness. A colossal black-scaled snout, larger than her entire body, emerges from the shadows. The Void Worm, the monster of legend, the deadliest dragon in the galaxy, is awake, and it is looking right at her.
On the bridge of the Vigilance, there is a collective, silent gasp. Every Xylar officer is frozen, their disciplined minds paralyzed by the image on the view screen. Their sensors confirm the impossible. The energy signature is off the charts. The Void Worm is awake. It's not a myth. It's real. And a small human child is standing just inches from its face. Commander Xylar's hand instinctively moves towards the weapons console. "Charge the main cannon," he orders, his voice tight, but he knows it is a hollow command. Their historical records are clear. Conventional weapons would only enrage the beast, and in doing so, seal the child's fate instantly. But down in the cavern, Ilara does not scream. She is not looking at a monster. She is looking at a creature, and she can see that it is hurt. Embedded deep in the dragon's massive shoulder is a long, dark metal object that looks like an ancient spear. It pulses with a sickly green light, a light that seems to cause the very air around it to tremble in pain. The dragon's golden eyes are not filled with malice, but with a deep, unending agony that has lasted for centuries. Ilara's parents taught her that all living things feel pain, and that kindness is the only medicine that works on everyone. The dragon, whose name is Kydron, has not seen another living being in over 500 years. He is not a mindless beast, but a highly intelligent and ancient being. He was once part of a proud race of ethereal dragons who were the guardians of this world. But centuries ago, ships came from the sky. Ships that looked remarkably similar to the Xylar vessels now in orbit. They came not to explore, but to conquer. Kydron watches the small, fragile child, and for the first time in centuries, his rage is quieted by a new feeling: curiosity. "You're hurt," Ilara says, her small voice echoing in the vast cavern. She takes a tentative step forward.
On the Vigilance, Xylar's data officer is frantically searching the archives, trying to understand what they are seeing. "Commander," he calls out, his voice trembling, "I have found something. It's in the deepest, most classified archives from the time of our ancestors' first expansion into the galaxy." An old, faded image appears on the screen. It shows a Xylar warship, but of a more primitive, aggressive design. And the weapon it is firing is identical to the spear embedded in the dragon's shoulder. The truth is suddenly revealed, a dark stain on their people's history. The Xylar's ancestors had come to Drakonis to mine its unique energy crystals. The dragons, who were peaceful guardians, stood in their way. So the Xylar created a horrific bioweapon, a parasitic spear that didn't just kill, but inflicted continuous, unbearable pain, driving the dragons mad before their bodies gave out. The Xylar didn't just defeat the dragons, they tortured them to extinction. Kydron is the last survivor. The Xylar's so-called quarantine was never about protecting the galaxy from a monster. It was about hiding their ancestors' war crimes, ensuring no one ever discovered the last Pain survivor of their genocide. Xylar stares at the screen, the foundation of his logical, orderly world crumbling into dust. His people were the monsters. Down in the cavern, Ilara feels a strange connection to the giant creature. She can feel its loneliness. It feels like the way she feels right now, lost and without her parents. She walks closer, her small form dwarfed by the dragon's immense head. "It's okay," she whispers, as if comforting a small animal. "I won't hurt you." The Xylar crew watches, their silent judgment replaced by a dawning sense of shame. They are watching the bravest person they have ever seen, and she is a small child from a species they considered primitive. Ignoring the jagged, fearsome teeth and the sheer scale of the creature before her, Ilara reaches out her small, trembling hand. She gently places it on the dragon's black-scaled snout. The Xylar on the bridge flinch, expecting the child to be turned to ash, but there is no fire. There is only a low rumbling sound that comes from deep within the dragon's chest. It is not a growl of anger, but a groan of pain, and, for the first time, a flicker of something else. A flicker of hope. The silence on the bridge of the Vigilance is absolute. The Xylar watch as the human child's tiny hand rests upon the snout of the galaxy's most feared creature. This single, gentle act defies every law of logic and survival they have ever known. Fear should be the only response, but the child, Ilara, shows none. She looks into Kydron's vast golden eye, an ocean of ancient pain. She doesn't understand galactic history or war crimes. She only understands that this beautiful, sad creature is suffering. In that moment, she does something that will be remembered in galactic legends for 1,000 years. She stands on her toes, leans forward, and presses a soft, gentle kiss against the dragon's rough, warm scales, right below his sorrowful eye. The moment her lips touch the dragon, a silent explosion of golden light erupts from the point of contact. It is not a wave of energy or radiation, but a wave of pure, unfiltered emotion. The telepathic shockwave washes over the Xylar fleet, bypassing their advanced shields as if they were not there. For a race that has suppressed emotion for generations, the impact is overwhelming. They are flooded with Kydron's centuries of agony, his profound loneliness, and the crushing despair of being the last of his kind. But they also feel something new, the pure, unconditional compassion of the human child. It is a feeling so powerful, so illogical, that it brings the Xylar warriors to their knees. For Kydron, the effect is even more profound. The child's innocent act of kindness, a gesture free from fear or greed, does something that centuries of struggle could not. It momentarily disrupts the energy field of the parasitic weapon in his shoulder. For the first time in ages, he feels a second of relief from the constant burning pain. The fog of agony lifts just enough for him to see clearly. This small being is not a threat. She is a miracle. On the bridge, Commander Xylar is shaking. The child's bravery and the dragon's pain have shattered his rigid worldview. He is no longer a jailer, but a witness to a terrible truth. He looks at his crew, their faces streaked with tears they did not know they could cry, and he makes a decision. "I am countermanding the Council's orders," he declares, his voice filled with a newfound conviction. "Our new mission is not to contain the dragon, but to help him." He turns to his science officers. "Analyze the weapon. Find a way to deactivate it. Now!" The Xylar Council, observing remotely, is in an uproar. They shout threats and condemn his illogical emotional response. But Xylar is resolute. He has been shamed by a human child's courage, and he will no longer be complicit in his people's crime. Kydron feels the shift in the Xylar's intentions. He senses their shame and their newfound resolve. Empowered by the child's touch and the brief respite from his pain, he gathers his strength. A mighty roar echoes through the cavern, but this time it is not a cry of pain. It is a roar of defiance and rebirth, a sound that shakes the very foundations of the planet. He gently nudges Ilara, pushing her safely behind a massive crystal-clear rock. He does not know if the Xylar's change of heart is real, but after centuries of torment, he is finally ready to face his jailers, not as a prisoner, but as a king reclaiming his throne. The galaxy's deadliest dragon is no longer hiding in the shadows. He is ready for a new fight.
A tense standoff hangs in the space around Drakonis. Below, a dragon of legend stands ready for battle. Above, a Xylar fleet is torn between centuries of protocol and a captain's sudden radical change of heart. Commander Xylar knows he cannot win the dragon's trust with words alone. He orders his ship to broadcast a message, not through sound, but through light. On the massive walls of Kydron's tavern, images begin to flicker. They are projections from the Xylar's forbidden archives, the truth of their ancestors' brutal attack, the images of the peaceful dragons, and finally, a single clear message written in the ancient galactic text: "We are sorry." Kydron watches, his golden eyes filled with skepticism. Apologies are easy. He has had centuries to learn about deceit. But then a small figure steps out from behind the rock. It is Ilara. She looks up at the sky where the Xylar ships are hovering and gives a small, trusting wave. The dragon looks down at the child, then back at the message. Perhaps this time was different. The Xylar science team works frantically. They devise a plan, but it is incredibly dangerous. The weapon is too old and unstable to be removed remotely. It has to be neutralized at close range by applying a powerful energy dampening agent directly to its core. The problem is, the weapon's defense mechanism will vaporize any non-Xylar technology that gets too close. It requires a Xylar to physically approach the dragon. One wrong move, one flicker of hostile intent, and the weapon could overload, destroying Kydron and a large portion of the planet along with him. As Xylar prepares his team, a message comes from the Xylar High Council. He is officially stripped of his command for his emotional and illogical actions. A hardline admiral, a firm believer in the old ways, has taken control. His faction sees Xylar's plan not as an act of atonement, but as an act of madness. A smaller Xylar cruiser, now under the mutineers' command, breaks formation. "Justice for our ancestors," the admiral broadcasts. "Destroy the beast!" The cruiser's weapons glow, aiming directly at the cavern. Before Xylar can react, Kydron moves. He shields Ilara with his massive body as the cruiser fires a blinding lance of energy.
But the blast never hits the ground. With a speed that defies his size, Kydron meets the attack with a controlled burst of golden fire from his mouth. The two energies collide in a silent, brilliant explosion. Kydron shows no rage, only a grim necessity. He proves in that moment that he is not a mindless monster. He is a protector. In a second, precise attack, he disables the mutinous ship's engines, sending it spinning harmlessly into the upper atmosphere. He showed immense power, but also incredible restraint. The act silences all opposition. Xylar knows what he must do. This is not just his crew's mission, it is his personal responsibility. He will not send another to do the job he should do himself. "I will lead the disarming team," he announces to the bridge. A captain must take responsibility for his people's past. A small, specialized shuttle detaches from the Vigilance. It descends through the stormy skies and into the vast cavern. Inside, Commander Xylar holds the neutralizing device, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. The shuttle lands softly on the cavern floor. Xylar steps out, a lone silver figure walking towards the deadliest dragon in the galaxy. Kydron watches him approach, his massive form perfectly still. And sitting peacefully by the dragon's side, radiating an aura of calm and trust, is the small human child who had already changed the universe.
The air in the cavern is thick with an ancient silence. The fate of a species, the honor of another, and the future of a planet all rest on this single, fragile moment. Commander Xylar walks forward, the energy dampener held tightly in his hands. Every logical part of his Xylar brain is screaming at him to run. He is approaching a being that could end his existence with a single breath. But he is not guided by logic anymore. He is guided by a newfound sense of duty and by the trusting eyes of the small human child watching him. He stops before Kydron. The dragon is so immense, Xylar has to crane his head back just to see its face. Those golden eyes, no longer filled with agony, watch his every move, judging his intent. Beside him, Alara gives a small, encouraging nod. That is all Xylar needs. He takes a deep breath, steps forward, and presses the device against the pulsating, corrupted spear. For a terrifying second, nothing happens. Then, the green light of the weapon flickers violently. An ear-splitting screech fills the air as the ancient, malevolent technology fights back. But the Xylar's new purpose is stronger than their ancestors' hatred. The neutralizer holds firm. The screeching fades. The sickly green light sputters. And with a final, shuddering sigh, the weapon goes dark. The metal spear crumbles into harmless dust. For the first time in over 500 years, Kydron is free. He closes his eyes, and a deep, telepathic wave of pure, unbridled relief washes over the Xylar fleet. It is not a wave of pain this time, but of overwhelming gratitude. Kydron communicates not with roars, but with images and feelings sent directly into their minds. He shows them the beauty of Drakonis before the Xylar came, a world teeming with life and light. He shares the sorrow of his lost race and the profound loneliness of being the last one. With the immediate danger gone, the next thought is of the child. Alara suddenly remembers her parents. Through a mix of her simple words and Kydron's powerful mental images, she communicates that they are still alive, trapped in another part of the crashed ship. With Kydron's guidance, a Xylar rescue team easily locates the ravine where the cockpit section of the shuttle was wedged. Alara's parents are found, injured but alive. The reunion is a beautiful, emotional scene. As Alara runs into her parents' arms, the Xylar crew watches, finally understanding the power of the human emotion they had once dismissed as a weakness: love.
True to his word, Xylar broadcasts the full, uncensored truth of the Xylar's history with Drakonis to the entire galactic community. He takes full responsibility for his people's crimes and vows that the Xylar will dedicate their resources to helping heal the planet they almost destroyed. Xylar is praised as a hero, but in every interview, he corrects them. The hero, he says, was a 7-year-old human girl who taught a galaxy, frozen in fear, the power of compassion. Before leaving Drakonis, Ilara and her family come to say goodbye. The massive dragon lowers his head, and the child places her hand on his snout one last time. There is no fear. There is only a bond between two unlikely friends. The Xylar, and the billions across the galaxy watching the broadcast, see not a monster and a child, but a guardian and a healer. A new legend was born that day. It was not the story of the Void Worm, the deadly dragon. It was the story of the dragon's child, the little human girl who healed a star and changed the course of history with a single, gentle kiss. The ultimate proof that humanity's greatest strength was not in its technology or its weapons, but in its boundless heart. And that was the story of Ilara and Kydron, a tale of a friendship that changed an entire galaxy. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel and lets us know you want more content like this. What was your favorite part of the story? Was it Commander Xylar's change of heart, or the single kiss from Ilara that changed everything? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. We love reading your feedback. And if you want to hear more incredible sci-fi stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to HFY Sci-Fi and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Until the next story, take care.